Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning entertainment podcast. In this episode, we are hopping in the DeLorean and heading back to the year 1994 in film and television to look at that year specifically. So don't bug out, because this could be all that and a bag of chips. It's literally all I remember from the 90s. Let's get on with the show. My name is Aaron Peterson. Joining me today are my fellow host, John Davenport.
Yo.
Troy Heinritz.
Home skillets. What's happening?
Sup. And Amanda Sink.
Oh, snap. She's not here.
You go, girl. Couldn't do it, huh? Couldn't make it 3 weeks in a row? It's too bad. It's supposed to be 4 weeks, right? Wasn't that the goal? Wasn't that the dream?
4 weeks was the goal, yes.
Yeah, that was the dream.
Couldn't do it. In case you missed it, Amanda Sink had made a bet that she could make it she was going to be on the show 4 weeks in a row. She's going to show us up. And she's
we had
early.
to see what was going to happen first. Amanda showing up to the show 4 weeks in a row on time.
Mm-hmm.
Or me being someplace where I can go see a movie theater or see a movie in a movie theater. Now,
I mean, it's pretty easy to see a movie theater. You just drive by on your Jeep, which you like doing.
I know. I fixed it. Thanks.
You can Google it.
Yeah. So, and the very first day in which this was supposed to happen, Amanda was already here on time. So even the day that she got bet, she got a handicap on it. So.
It's funny. All right. Well, this is a time capsule episode where we're going to look back at an infamous year in entertainment in 1994. We actually took a poll in our Facebook group and just asked people, like, what do you think is the best year in film? We've already done a 1999 episode. There should be a link in the show notes to that one. I think we've done a couple other ones. 1987.
We did 1985.
We did some 80s. 82 was the runner-up to this particular poll, but 94 won by a significant margin. So that's the year we're covering. But before we get there, before we talk about 1994, and I should mention, as we go throughout the episode, we will have some breaking news from our news correspondent from 1994, Zach Parkerson. He's going to just break in and share some of the events that happened during that year. You can refer to him as our WTGO correspondent. He's from thegamingoutsider.com. If you ever want to hear Zach on his podcast, but you'll hear him throughout the show, and I'm not going to tell you where. It's just going to happen like magic.
Yeah, he's the only one on that podcast, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think it's a one-man show, right? Just it. One guy gets it all done. And then if there's any other voices, I haven't heard them because they're all tuned out because of the greatness that is Zach.
Right.
So, yeah. Before we get there, we got to come back to the Discovery Plus and HBO Max nonsense. Merger, which I love that John Oliver calls this his new business daddy. I just want to use that term in my real life at some point. I want to refer to my boss as my business daddy.
I do refer to my boss as daddy, and then his boss I refer to as grandpappy.
This is very uncomfortable, and I feel like violates a few HR rules. So you do you, though.
I am in HR. Does somebody need to have a conversation?
But I want to mention, so here's some updates we've had since you guys talked about Batgirl. I wasn't here last week, but you talked about the Batgirl debacle, which was all the rage on the internets. And what they're doing is apparently they're trying to streamline their business. And Zaslav, who is the guy in charge of Discovery, he said, we've looked hard at the direct-to-streaming business, and our conclusion is that expensive direct-to-streaming movies in terms of how people are consuming them on the platform like HBO Max, how often people go there or buy it or buy a service for it, and how it gets nourished over time is no comparison to what happens when you launch a film in the theaters. And so this idea of expensive films going direct to streaming, we cannot find an economic case for it. We can't find an economic value for it. I'm just saying, I've been saying that for a year and a half, 2 years, and people keep telling me how wrong I am. And I just want to say, it's in the numbers, man. It's in the numbers that can't justify that business.
Hey, Aaron, can you take a back seat for a second?
Sure.
Troy, this is between you and me.
Okay.
So this is 1994 episode, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I was talking to Troy. Shut up, Aaron.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so this is a 1994 episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you get the feeling that the only reason why this is being brought up is so that Aaron can say, I told you so?
Well, I mean, I think he's bringing it up because he's really actually more bitter about the fact that season 5 of Westworld won't happen because Zaslav, which also sounds like Pavlov, because he's thinking like with his old timer capabilities and going back to the bell every single time is going to completely screw up a pretty awesome show.
So you're just going to ignore the awesome setup I gave you.
He sure did to plug himself. Yep.
To just that's what you're gonna do, Troy? I thought we were bros, bro.
I was with you. I still didn't give Aaron any credit. It benefits me. It doesn't benefit Aaron. He's got to do another year of a podcast.
By the way, Beyond Westworld's back, and it's doing great. So if you want to listen to it, please do. And please, Mr. David Zaslav, don't cancel Westworld, because I know you're canceling basically anything with a script. Stay away from that one. It's doing pretty well. Doing great. But apparently we're going to have a 90-Day Fiancé universe, which we already have, but we're going to have more of those. We're going to have more of those and less HBO Max stuff.
I mean, I get what he's trying to say. He's saying basically we're not going to spend theater money on a streaming movie. I understand that concept, right? At the same time, you've already spent the money. So therefore, you're telling me that you're going to get more in a tax write-off from shelving it than you are going to get from actually airing it, where you could actually draw customers to the service. Because once you move forward with the new plan, you're not going to be drawing customers to the service because there's not going to be anything on the service to want to come see.
I'm
Speak
with you.
for yourself. A 90-Day Fiancé universe? I mean, come on. That sounds amazing.
Property Sisters? Oh, can't wait. What a dream.
I mean, there are stuff on Discovery Plus that's worth watching for
No,
sure.
there's not. Yeah, I watch nothing reality. I watch zero reality TV. There's nothing on Discovery that I'm going to watch unless there's some really cool wildlife videos, which I'm sure there are. So maybe some of that.
I watch a lot of the home makeover type shows because I like to get ideas and stuff.
And how often? Why? People watch those. They never use them. You never go to somebody. You know what? I always watch HGTV, whatever it is, and you go to their house, and you know what? It looks the exact same as the last time you went to their house. So why watch all that for ideas? It's just a waste of time.
Because it's fun to watch them go, we're newlyweds and we got our first baby coming. And what's your budget? $1.5 million.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Bull crap.
Ridiculous.
I collect stamps and she weaves baskets. Our budget is $1.5 million. What?
It's so ridiculous.
As if.
Oh my God. I know we got to get to the 90s stuff, but yes, John, that is partly why I brought it up. So I could say I told you so, because I've been saying this for a couple of years now, and I'm tired of people telling me how I don't understand how the business, man, pay attention. This is numbers game. It's not that hard to understand. They are throwing money away. They lost so much money last year when HBO Max did that day and date release thing. They lost so much money. But on a positive note, because this wasn't announced when you guys talked about it last week, Zaslav also recently brought Kevin Feige's former boss, retired Disney film chief Alan Horn, on as an advisor, and he was instrumental in that whole Marvel plan. So during a recent earnings call, Zaslav suggested DC would try to emulate the Marvel playbook and said they have a 10-year plan. Now, granted, they say they have a 10-year plan every 5 years, but they're swearing this time we've got a 10-year plan. So, John, you're a big DC guy. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm suddenly reminded of Big Daddy, which is his 5-year plan not to die. Like, as a fan of comic books in general, and I've been wanting to see something great out of DC just so that we don't have to live in just one world of comic books all the time, because we are seeing the problems with living in one world of comic book all the time. I am appreciating the fact that more importantly, the fact that Ben Affleck is going to show up in 2 movies here soon, it goes to show you that the Snyderverse isn't quite dead yet.
I think it's ridiculous when people say it is dead. Snyder, as a director, working on those films is no longer a thing, but the Snyderverse is very much alive. I mean, you still have Aquaman is his Aquaman. Flash, for the time being, is his Flash. Ben Affleck is still involved. So Snyderverse is still very much alive.
We definitely need a new Flash.
Yeah, this guy, right? Ezra Miller.
This is why we can't have nice things. But I was rewatching Love and Monsters, and the kid from Love and Monsters, he would make a great Flash.
Dylan O'Brien.
Yes, Dylan O'Brien. He would make a great Flash, I believe.
Agreed. So here's what or Grant Gustin. I don't care. CGI him in. Take that Batgirl money you're throwing away. Put that in CGI. Just replace Ezra Miller's performance, because apparently Ezra's gone nuts. Ezra is just dealing with some stuff, and I don't care about any of that drama. Get it out of the Flash movie, because everything otherwise about the Flash movie sounds great. But regardless, they have a 10-year plan is what they're saying. So we'll see what happens with that. That's there you go. You're up to date. Let's get into 1994. But before you do that, Patreon. You want to help support the show? Go to patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. That's Patreon, patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. Sign up. Whatever tier you join, there are bonus elements to it. You get free episodes of Bad Movie Night every month. There's a bonus episode direct every month where we answer any Patreon listeners' questions. Check it out. Now, let's get into 1994. First question I got to ask, what do you remember most about this year in terms of entertainment, or even as a year as a whole?
You know, I thought long and hard about this, and what I remember the most about this year is this is the year that I first kissed a girl.
Seriously?
Yeah.
What did your mom say when you left?
She was very much like, don't use tongue next time. That's gross.
All right, please. I don't want to bring you down. That seems like a very memorable thing. So what happened? Tell us the sweet story. Tell us this memorable
It's not
story.
really that sweet. I mean, it is kind of a sweet story. It was the first time that I was like, feeling good enough about myself to ask a girl out, basically because she said, I like you. Why don't we go do something? And I went, okay, like most guys do. Mm-hmm. And we just had a great night. It was pretty fun. And then when I dropped her off at her house, and I went in for the kiss, and it was a great moment. It really it introduced me to blue balls for the very first time in my life too. So like, yeah, it was a lot going on that night.
So it was sweet for a minute, and you just took it to the mat. Good job.
Well, I mean, you already ruined it by talking about my mom. So
I was just making a suggestion. I didn't say that you were making out with her. I was just alluding. Maybe she was there. Maybe she drove you. I didn't know. You're the one.
Maybe she drove me.
I can only assist. She gave you a ride.
Oh, now you made it gross.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
What about you, Trey? What do you remember about 1994?
Senior year. Whoop, whoop. It was the best.
It was my senior year as well. Yeah.
That's sad for you if that was your first kiss when you were a senior. I just want to have like a little memorial now for you, John. I don't understand.
Well, I was a late bloomer. I liked girls. I was also very afraid of them. And a lot of them were like chasing me down like crazy. And I was always like, I can't do that. I don't know. It was a lot of pressure at the time.
I'm just
all right. I got another story for 1994.
Yeah, we're on Troy. It's Troy's turn.
No, I got another story. You guys already asked for this. So
yeah, I got to hear John's like sad love life now because I'm like 13, 7th grade. I'm already macking with the ladies. It's like,
did you just say macking?
Holy cow.
Did you say macking?
Macking.
You were definitely not then.
Yeah, I was hanging out with a couple of friends, and my best friend at the time went to a different high school. And me, him, and another guy, and one of his girlfriends who didn't have a date for their prom, who had asked me to go to their prom with them. All four of us were hanging out. We were driving all over the place, going from like Miami to Fort Lauderdale, and just doing different stops. And it was me and the girl who asked me to go to her prom with her. Very nice girl, very sweet. And at one point, like, we would be joking around, having a good time. She's leaning up against me, and like my buddy's playing the music really loud in the car. And like, she kind of whispers in my ear. She goes, "Hey, can I kiss you?" And I was like, "No."
What? Were you struggling with something at the time?
No, I wasn't struggling with anything.
Sure which way you were going?
I thought kissing her was like taking advantage of her, and because I didn't have like those kinds of feelings for her, so it'd be only a thing where I would be taking advantage of her.
I didn't know. I thought maybe you were struggling with your sexuality. A lot of people did that in the 90s. Maybe you watch Friends and like the 3 guys are on one side and 3 ladies on the other, and you don't know which way to lean. I get it.
No, I didn't have a problem with that. I just had a problem with the fact that I thought it would be wrong to kiss a girl that I wasn't interested in.
It's very noble. I respect that. I would have kissed her.
That was you. That was the reason why. Like,
she asked. She made a request. I think it was kind of rude that you said no. Honestly, you're kind of a dick. Yeah, you're a little bit of a dick.
She did tell me I was an asshole, and I was like, I don't know why I'm an asshole, but yeah, okay.
I think it's important to learn rejection very early. It really, really helps. What about you, Troy? You got any 1994 memories, thoughts?
Yeah, because I was macking in 13, I learned rejection really early, so that's why I didn't have a girlfriend my senior year in high school. I just hung out with my best
Neither
friend
did I,
Rob.
dude. Neither
If
did I.
you
It wasn't
kept
until
saying Mac and
afterwards.
there's no chance in hell. I totally
Yeah.
understand why you were dateless.
No, 1974 was pretty dope. We
Nice.
we really just hung out. We did we had a really great theater production group my senior year, where there's a lot of incoming freshmen that were really talented in the theater as well. We put on a kick-ass version of A Day in the Life of P.T. Barnum, which is a big musical back from 1980.
I remember you telling me about
we
that.
actually had big top tarp that we put in the gym, so it literally looked like you were sitting underneath the big top at a circus. We had trapeze artists. We had Tom Thumb in a big chair. We had a giant elephant walk across the stage. It was pretty amazing.
A real elephant?
It wasn't a real elephant. We actually made
Oh,
an elephant on a pulley system, so that when it went across the stage, all you saw was its legs, because it was so big in comparison to Tom Thumb, who was pulling the elephant across the stage.
oh yeah, size matters.
But
yeah.
but it actually moved like it was walking, which was actually really cool how we were able to do that with the pulley system. And
If you would
having
have
it spin
figured
on a
out
bike wheel.
how to get a real elephant across the stage, that's who would have been macking on the ladies, because they would have been impressed as hell.
Wait,
Terrible.
so
wouldn't have
impressed.
fit on the stage.
if I was listening to everything right, Troy was in theater,
Uh-huh.
possibly one of the only straight guys in theater, and he couldn't get a girlfriend.
I was on the tech crew.
That's not nice.
Oh wait, so it's nice when you guys do it to me, but when I do it to Troy, it sucks, right?
I don't understand either one of you. I did just fine. So what I can remember of
I think I made it
1994
very clear that it wasn't the fact I did fine or not. I just didn't try hard enough
Sure.
because I had other issues.
I'm not judging you.
And not that it happened in 94, but I do remember losing my shit when Shawshank did not win Best Picture. Shawshank was the most amazing movie I'd ever seen to that point in my life.
I felt the same way, but because Pulp Fiction didn't win. Because it's way better than Shawshank. Yeah, I said it.
Well, it is way better, but it's not an Academy film.
I'm upset that
Academy
PCU didn't win.
You're upset what?
That PCU didn't win?
Jeremy Piven movie?
Yeah.
John, just relax. We're not going to protest.
Oh, that's funny.
We're not going to protest.
That movie's a lot funnier than people remember. If they don't
That movie's
remember.
so great.
It's actually
that is
pretty
such a
funny.
great movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's really sad is how much we've gotten worse than that than it
Yeah.
was back then.
What I remember most about 1994, and this is funny because in my eyes, it's hard to be a fan of his filmmaking anymore. I still love the guy. I think he's a great speaker and definitely loves motivating other people. I just think some of the filmmaking aspects have worn down. But in 1994, Clerks came out. I was a wannabe writer, wannabe filmmaker, all the things you want to be when you're young, when you're a dreamer, before life gets in the way. And, you know, my brother and I actually kind of bonded over that film just because it showed that you could get it done. You know, you could actually be poor, which we definitely were. You could be poor. You could not have any access. You could not be referenced or attached to a studio. You could be all those things and still get a movie made that actually really resonates with people. Because Clerks came out and just blew people away at how well done it was for like a pittance of most or budgets for a Hollywood movie. So for me, and I know you guys are talking about like life stuff. I think I was technically already a dad at that point, so I wasn't doing a whole lot except working and watching movies. But as someone who always wanted to write or be involved in entertainment in some way, and came to this podcast probably vicariously through Kevin Smith in a way, you know, it was just really exciting, really impressive, and I became just a huge fan of Kevin Smith himself because of that. It was just kind of like an eye opener. It really changed the industry in a way. That and Pulp Fiction changed the industry in a way I don't think many people realized at the time. We're going to talk about that a little later, but it really hit me pretty hard. But I was macking just fine. Never had any struggle. Like I said, had kids already. So
You just had a problem with pulling out.
that's fair.
Your pull-out game was terrible.
It was very, very bad. I just hung in there, you know?
You like getting jiggy with it, that's for sure.
Wow, you're going to work them all in.
He's gonna try.
Speaking of, I pulled some of the lingo from that era. We've already used some of them, but some of this stuff, and tell me if you remember using any of this. All that in a bag of chips.
No.
Kick him to the curb.
Yeah. Always.
Yes.
Home skillet.
No.
Not in a way that you should use it
Talk to the hand. What's the inappropriate way?
all the time.
No.
You use talk to the hand all the time? A lot of people still use that.
Still use it today.
Yep. As If. That was big.
No.
Booyah.
Yes.
Scrub.
No.
I knew the
Amanda's a
TLC song. Amanda's a scrub. Not. Ite.
Yes.
Crunk. Never used that.
Never
No.
use crunk.
Whatever. Yeah, I still use that.
Yeah.
With the three fingers. Whatever. Sideways.
No, I never did that. But it's nice to know that you had a cheerleading.
He
Approach.
was in theater, remember? He was in
That's
theater.
true. Yep, theater. I'm sorry, Martin Short. I forgot. Fly. That's Fly. Hella Fly. Fly.
That's pretty fly.
Mm-hmm. Hella Getting Jiggy. Sup. Bugging Out. Open Up a Can of Whoop Ass. You Go Girl. All that stuff. A lot of lingo that I'm glad went away.
Bugging out. Never use that one.
Yeah, me either. Weird.
Breaking news. Nancy Kerrigan's January 6th attack by a metal baton-wielding assailant has been attributed to Tanya Harding's ex-husband, Jeff Gillooly, who hatched this plan to get Kerrigan out of the way for Harding to soar. Harding denied being involved in the attack, but she did know ahead of time. Kerrigan did recover in time to compete, and she got the silver. Harding basically did well enough for a ride back to the States and a life of infamy. More importantly, what is it about January 6th? Should we all just take that day off from life moving forward? And now we return to your regularly scheduled program.
Okay, well, let's go to our movie and TV discussion now. At the 1995 Academy Awards, which we briefly talked about, it was honoring the films of 1994. So that's why we're talking about 1995. Forrest Gump won Best Picture over The Shawshank Redemption, Pulp Fiction, Quiz Show, and Four Weddings and a Funeral. And I want to know, now that we have time on our side, does that choice hold up for you? And it sounds like you already have an opinion on it.
None of these. Forrest Gump should not have beaten any of these movies. All of these movies are fantastic movies. Forrest Gump is a great movie. Best actor, sure. Best director, sure. But the movie itself, not super awesome.
Are you kidding?
In the grand scheme of things, it's good. It's a good movie. It makes you feel good, but it's not cinematic awesomeness. It's not crawling through a mile of shit and piss to get to your freedom and have that amazing shot at the end when he gets out on the other side.
There's some movie magic in it, like real filmmaking magic in that movie, though. I mean, how they correlated real historical events and just made that seamless blend, created a character which really was kind of insulting and somehow works in a very, very weird way. So much that still resonates with people. Life is like a box of chocolates, Jenny, Run Forrest Run, all that stuff. I mean, Lieutenant Dan, fried shrimp, bucket of shrimp, whatever, that whole shrimp thing. Like, there's a lot that I think Forrest Gump doesn't get enough credit for. I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm just saying, let's be fair, though. Forrest Gump wasn't a bad movie or anything. Like, it's a great
I'd say it was a bad
piece
movie.
of film.
I said best actor, best director, best cinematography, sure. Best picture, Shawshank wins hands down. It is on IMDb's list of movies. It is number one above The Godfather.
That's
Forrest Gump doesn't
accurate.
even come close.
Godfather's not as great as people think it is. Yeah, I said it.
Right.
Still better than Forrest Gump on IMDb's list. I'm just saying, Shawshank is the number one movie like all time.
I don't like mob movies.
And it didn't win. It didn't win.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think as far as the movies we're talking about here, what makes Forrest Gump such a great movie to have won the Oscar is its accessibility, its ability to resonate with so many people of all sorts of ages. I think that it means a lot, right? Especially back then, it meant a lot more than it does now. But is Shawshank a great movie? Sure. Is Shawshank better than Forrest Gump? That's subjective. So yeah, I tend to agree that because of purely off of like quality and accessibility of Forrest Gump, then it's a great movie to have won that year.
Yeah, I mean, I would make the case that Pulp Fiction, I think, is better than Shawshank. Like, to me, it's not even close. Just not even close. Because I've rewatched Pulp Fiction many, many, many times. I've rewatched Shawshank. It just doesn't hold up in that same way. But I know it does for most of the world. So I think probably most people would be in agreement with you, Troy. I just am not, personally. But I'm also a huge Tarantino fan. I like when shit gets dark. I like just really wonderful verbal foreplay, I guess you could say.
Repertoire,
Yeah.
foreplay.
Whatever you want to call it. I like a good rapport, great retort. I like a good line. I like a good just mind fuck. And I feel like you didn't have that so much in Shawshank. I think Shawshank is a great story. I don't know if I just don't find it best picture of the year. I would still probably take Forrest Gump over Shawshank. Does that make me a bastard?
In Troy's eyes.
Yeah, because the twist was the twist was so like, what just happened? Like he's been digging a hole for this entire time behind those cool lady posters, and he has the shoes in a box, and like it was amazing.
The lady, you mean Rita Hayward? Just the one lady.
Well, he had multiple ones because he had been digging that hole for a long time.
I thought it was just the one.
Rita was the last one.
Oh, see, I don't even remember that because I've only watched it like twice, 2 or 3 times. 3 times. I've probably seen it 3 times. I like it.
I think all 3 of those movies are great examples of Poppy Field movies. You sit down and you watch them at any given moment that you can sit down and watch them. Mm-hmm. But they're so close as far as quality, as far as direction, as far anything you want to point out. They're so close. They're just, I think that's why one edges the other one's out, is just straight up the relatability of it.
Yeah, I think that's why Forrest Gump won, right? In my mind. It won because it was the most accessible of all the films. Quiz Show and 4 Weddings and a Funeral, I don't think should even be in the conversation, personally. But those 3, I think it's all a preference, and Forrest Gump was the most accessible. That's why it won. But I wouldn't be mad if Shawshank would have won, or if Pulp Fiction would have won.
Yes, Morgan Freeman should have absolutely won Best Actor. Get busy winning or get busy dying. Just
for that great delivery of like, Andy Dufresne swam through a mile of shit. It was a great delivery.
Now I got a question. Now that you guys have seen the movie, if you're in Andy Dufresne's shoes, could you do it? Could you crawl through a mile of shit to escape?
I think I would have to. My butthole would hurt so much.
Shit. I don't know why. I wish I would have never asked the question.
Eventually, that's for sure.
I got to do something because, like, I don't think my ass can take that kind of pounding anymore.
Okay, let's move on.
Yes, I would escape prison if I was wrongly accused. 100%. Michael Scofield would help me out.
Nice. Well, I want to know how you're going to make that call when Scofield was like 30 years after Shawshank happened. So you'd be the old guy.
It's a Stephen King property. He'll walk through one of the small tears in the multiverse. Nice.
You'd be that D.B. Cooper wannabe guy.
But Prison Break wasn't in Stephen King.
It is in Troy's world.
Yep. Just so that Troy can be right.
Yes.
And have things
That's
his way.
That's how he works. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
All right.
I'll be long gone while you're still dealing with the sisters over there in the laundry room.
Moving on. The Crow, one of the great, in my opinion, one of the greatest movies of all time, finally arrived in theaters in 1994. And that was showcasing Brandon Lee's final starring role and the film in which poor film safety cost him his life. And that kind of rocked the world at the time. So when you look back at The Crow, what is its legacy for you as a fan, Troy?
I'm not really a big fan of The Crow, to be honest.
All right, then John. Let's go to John.
Okay, that's just...
I like the movie. I felt bad that Brandon Lee was shot, and Michael had to deal with that, obviously, for the rest of his career. He showed up actually on the Blacklist, and Aaron and I talked about The Crow and the influence and Michael's appearance there on the Blacklist back in season 2, I believe it was. And
Michael Massey, for people that don't know.
Michael Massey. And I think that, what it did was it actually brought safety on set to the forefront, and something that really was taken seriously after this. Also brought up gun conversation, which was also good. But the movie itself, I've never been a big Crow fan. It was a good movie. It was okay. But at the time I wasn't really into dark superhero type movies.
The thing I always thought was interesting about this was that how many people took ownership of Brandon Lee after this moment. And I think it has everything to do with the fact that he was making The Crow. Of all the movies to have this happen to you on, it has to be something that's a gothic, superhero kind of feeling to it. And all of a sudden you've got people, which, people don't remember. In the 90s, there's still very much an era of believing in mystical and or supernatural, and having this whole feeling of like the what if of everything. And I always thought it was interesting that all these people who, just because he just happened to grab this movie and this was the movie he ended up dying on, everyone took ownership of him. No one cared about him before his, in his other movies. This was just the movie.
Speak for yourself. I was actually already a fan. I knew who he was when he died. It really hit me hard. I knew who he was exactly.
Well, he was. How many movies was he in before this?
He was only in a few. I mean, he's in Rapid Fire, Showdown in Little Tokyo. They were all smaller. He was up and coming, but you could see that he had a lot of his dad's fighting prowess, and also had his own charisma in those parts. I mean, Showdown in Little Tokyo is a really cheap kind of knockoff movie. It's almost like straight to video or whatever it was, but it was Dolph Lundgren, and he was great in it. Rapid Fire, I loved that movie. It's very 90s, felt very 90s, but I love that movie. Yeah. He was just an actor that I really resonated with, and this was his big break. This was going to shoot him to the action superstar level. That was the plan, anyway.
And it had every opportunity of doing that. But my point is that if it would have happened on Rapid Fire, if it would have happened on any of these other movies that he did, it wouldn't have had the same kind of effect as it did with the crowd that The Crow brought in with it.
True. I 100% agree with that. I really feel, in terms of that particular film, how much it is centered around death and resurrection and love and loss and all those things that correlated to losing Brandon Lee. I think that honestly elevated his loss to a great degree, especially once the movie came out. Like, people were, up in arms about it when it happened, but when the movie came out and you see it play out and you're watching an actor portray a character who died and came back and is trying to avenge his death, and at the end he dies again and is reunited with his love, and just the soundtrack perfectly captured the beauty of those elements. I feel like the odds of that coming together again in any way, shape, or form are almost impossible. I think Alex Proyas did a masterful job of making that movie work based on the circumstances, because to me it seems like it would be one of those films that people would just want to shelve because the subject matter is so close to the real world. You know what I mean? I mean, the guy dies in the movie twice, basically, and now and he died in real life. Like, we can't sell that, but they made it so it's beautiful. His death is actually very tragic, but beautiful in the film. And I mean, it still hits me to this day. I can't watch that movie without getting emotional. The last 5 minutes, I'll just cry. I think it's beautifully imaged. The imagery is just stunning as far as I'm concerned. And in terms of just how they built that city and shot that city, and Michael Wincott is fantastic as Top Dollar, one of the best villains of all time, in my opinion. God, I absolutely love that movie. Still watch it every Halloween. Just stunningly shot.
I think it's stunningly shot. I think that as an older person watching these, it doesn't have the same sort of effect as it used to have on me. It does, like, especially when it comes to like those sweet, like, loving moments. I'm like, fake.
That's too bad your heart's so cold.
It really is cold.
Mine's wide open. Just come on in.
It actually can rain all the time, Aaron.
No, it can't, actually. I mean, it would feel like it would be you'd have landslides everywhere. That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, victims, aren't we all? Even the lines are fantastic in that.
Caw, bang, fuck, I'm dead.
Oh, man. And Troy's right. I've actually we interviewed a director who I think I mentioned before, but John Hill, who worked with Michael Massey, and we talked at great length about Michael Massey off air, about how tragic that was for him. And how it took him a very, very long time to come back to the acting world, because the guy had to live with that. It wasn't his fault. He had nothing to do responsibility-wise with that. But gut punch.
Breaking news! O.J. Simpson has been arrested for the murders of his wife Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman. Well, they say friend, but you know what we mean. Well, anyway, he was arrested after the longest highway chase in the history of mankind. Though he will eventually be acquitted of all crimes, O.J. has been vowed to spend the rest of his life searching for the real killers on every golf course across America. A true hero, one course at a time. Oh well, at least we got a great Chris Rock bit out of this. And now we return to your regularly scheduled program.
Let's go turn it to a happier note, because in 1994, one of the most successful film comedians of all time was discovered. And actually, I had two movies. There's actually three movies from 1994 that this guy did. Three. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all came out in 1994. And these were the films that cemented Jim Carrey as a comedy great for the decade. So looking back, what did Jim Carrey do different that so many other comics didn't do at the time? Like, why did he stand out?
I fully believe that the reason why he stood out the way he did was because you can have somebody do everything Jim Carrey was doing, and it would feel like it's a put on. It would feel like an act. It would feel like it's something, its own world. But Jim Carrey found a way to be as off the wall, crazy as he was, but 100% commit to the bits and 100% commit to everything where, yes, he's playing for laughs, but he doesn't look like somebody who's playing for laughs. And that's why I think he resonated so much with so many people.
Yeah, I often refer to him, in this time frame especially, as he was Steve Martin without guardrails. Because Steve Martin is very well known for his physical comedy as well, but he also had a lot of restraint in terms of like pulling himself back. Jim Carrey had no restraint. He just kept going. Like you'd see him going down a path and you're like, well, that's wacky. That's crazy. And then he just keeps going further and further and further. And it's honestly, it was amazing for the longest time. God, probably had to be at least a decade, right? He would just show up and just get crazier and crazier with every single movie. What was the Ace Ventura sequel? He's coming out of a rhino's ass or whatever. I mean, it's just, it's just ridiculous. He just had no shame, none whatsoever. He, like you said, totally committed to the bit.
100% committed to the bit. And he's never at any moment winking at the camera. He's never at any moment like letting you know it's a put on. It is just 100% commitment to the fact that he wants to make this crazy person real as possible. And it's insane.
I'm just now speculating because I didn't realize that all three of those movies came out in the same year until today.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened that In Living Color also went off the air in 1994. It finished up in May of that TV season. So was it Jim Carrey that ended In Living Color in order to get these three movies made? Is there like
No.
a deep conspiracy here?
No, it's a deep state. No, he just got lucky. Ace Ventura just blew up. And I mean, he just blew up. Just he couldn't have a bomb for several years. I mean, he was just,
Well, it's because he was so great on In Living Color originally. That was the thing that, Fire
yeah,
Marshal
but I
Bill
don't. Yeah, I mean, I think people knew those, but I really don't think that's what sold people on Jim Carrey. I think it's just the movies, they saw the character and people needed to laugh at the time. They just needed to laugh.
He really cut his teeth on In Living Color. He really did cut his teeth there because you saw him through the 80s. He was in a bunch of different movies. He was in a vampire movie that I can't remember the name of. Once Bitten. Mm-hmm. He was in Once Bitten. He was in Earth Girls Are Easy. All these things where, he's, you can see the outline of the Jim Carrey we know in those roles, but he hasn't cut his teeth yet.
Yeah, especially Fire Marshal Bill, because he definitely cut his teeth.
So funny.
But I mean, I think Fire Marshal Bill launches you into Ace Ventura, and then when people are like, Ace Ventura is so freaking awesome, so Ace Ventura gets the word of mouth, and more people go see Ace Ventura, and then Ace Ventura launches into Dumb and Dumber and The Mask.
I remember going to see Ace Ventura with a buddy of mine. I had no idea what to expect, so I'm walking in, going. I saw the commercial. It was kind of goofy. This is probably going to be. It's one of those movies where if you saw the trailer, you're like, this is probably going to be awful, but you go anyway, and the whole theater, it was packed, which surprised the hell out of me because I knew Jim Carrey vaguely. I knew Fire Marshal Bill. That's about all I knew. And I knew Once Bitten because I actually really liked that movie, which is sad that I remember. I actually was a Jim Carrey fan before I knew who Jim Carrey was because I sure didn't remember that was the same guy. And that movie, I mean, that audience was roaring. absolutely just roaring, laughing their asses off throughout the entire movie because he did so many ridiculous things. You know, how about I call you sometime? Your number's still 911? Alrighty then. You know, just all of those stupid things. And even though it hasn't aged great because Einhorn is a man, and I get that, it was still really funny at the time.
Laces out, Dan.
It's crazy that he had that one, like that was his year. That guy just exploded in 1 year. Man.
And the money he made that year allowed him to do things like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and Truman Show. And
I remember him famously talking about how he wrote a check, and I think it was he wrote himself a check for like $20 million, and his goal was, I'm going to get a paycheck of $20 million or something like that, or $7 million. It was whatever the dollar amount was. I don't remember which paycheck it was. But he hit it, and he hit that number, and he still has that check or something, or at least he did for a long time. It's a great story. Hey, you know what? Before we move on, we got to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 2, because the world's favorite blue hedgehog is back in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is now available on Blu-ray and digital. And this next level sequel, speaking of Jim Carrey, Sonic and Tails must save the world from Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik's evil plans. And you can buy Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and watch it today. It's rated PG from Paramount Pictures. And it's a lot of fun. Seriously, it's a lot of fun.
I'm surprised by how much I enjoyed both those movies. But yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, pretty damn great.
Yeah, so glad they went back, and that was one where the fans were right. And they fixed it, and it works great. Looks great. All right, so now let's move on to Clerks and Pulp Fiction swept the world. That's right, 1994. They were creating this whole new indie vibe, opening up the world to independent filmmakers like Tarantino and Kevin Smith, like I talked about earlier, who had something to say. They had something to say, and they were saying it in a different way. Now, I know some people will say, well, Tarantino just borrowed from a bunch of other people. Say whatever you want. Every filmmaker borrows from other filmmakers. It's how he sells it as his own, and he does, because he's a great writer. He's a fantastic writer. Kevin Smith was at this time as well. It changed, but he still was a fantastic writer at this time. And they are also commenting on pop culture as a whole in their films as they go. That was something that was very, very new. And I think Scream kind of capitalized on that a few years later. But these two guys really kind of brought that into the mainstream. So looking back on this era of film, what does that mean to you? Either one of you.
I mean, Clerks was the one that introduced it to Chewbacca. It was such a great song. We played it all the time on the radio up at college when I was my freshman year in 95, because it was just such a great song from the movie.
Did you really?
And just, yeah, all the time. It's so fun.
That's funny.
What a Wookiee.
I love that they actually brought into play. What do you guys think about the contractors? Like all the people that worked on the Death Star. I mean, that was just such a random thing. Like, how did nobody ever think of this before? It was kind of brilliant.
I mean, really, all Jedi had was a bunch of Muppets. I mean, the lines in this and the conversations were just so off the wall and so yet right at the same time that it just felt so good. And then just with Jay and Silent Bob, just standing outside, minding their own business. I mean, it was just something about it that was just magical. And you couldn't put your finger on it because it was also in black and white. And what am I watching? I don't understand what this movie is. And it's so good. Well,
because tell me if you guys agree. These were the conversations I was assistant manager at a Blockbuster when that movie came out. These are the kind of conversations we were always having. The same kinds of random just twists on movies that we loved and everything else, and just talking about them and just weird stuff like that. Like, these were the conversations people had. That felt real.
Yeah, because that's what high school is about. Algebra, bad lunch, and infidelity.
He really captured like the working nerd.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
I wasn't even supposed to be here today. So like good. Clerks was the movie that introduced me to Kevin Smith. I loved it. And I've always been a big Kevin Smith proponent since his since we got more into the View Askew movies. At this time, it was actually Pulp Fiction that resonated more with me because it was flashy, it had good music, it had these great lines going back and forth. The cinematography was miles better, and it was something that really just it just talked to me in a much different manner than any other movie at the time did.
See, I had And I think it's because I've always been a writer. I mean, I'm kind of personal with my writing. I'm not like most writers. I kind of write for me more than anything. And Tarantino, where Kevin Smith felt like these are the people I hang out with, right? These are the people this is a real conversation us nerds have. Tarantino felt very much like I think when I'm writing. You know, it's not that I want to get a gimp mask or do any of that. Just that in terms of when I'm writing, I tend to write darker. I tend to write a little bit more out there. And it really resonated with me. Like it captured my imagination because, okay, here's a filmmaker who is willing to go non-linear. I mean, that was unheard of at the time. Unfortunately, after then, there's about 400 movies that came out that were just like this, that none of them came close. But it was non-linear, which he had done in Reservoir Dogs, but he really perfected it here and made it a staple of his own, where, and what I mean by nonlinear, for people that don't understand, it means it doesn't run in, you know, a consecutive path. It's all over the place. You're getting 3 stories told at different various points of time. So, you know, that's why you've got Bruce Willis's section in the middle actually happens at a different point of time than the other 2 sections. It actually comes after the last section, which never happens. That just doesn't happen. So, you know, that aspect of the film, basically, it's messing with your head. The dialogue is just on point. It's tight, even though it's random and they're just mostly people having conversations. There's very little action in Pulp Fiction, but the dialogue is stunning. I mean, how much of that movie is still quoted? Way more than Forrest Gump or Shawshank. How much of that movie is quoted to this day? People would drop that speech in a heartbeat in public if they could and get away with it. The wallet, bad motherfucker. That, how many people want that wallet? I mean, this is a really beloved movie for very good reason, and it really established what a genius writer and filmmaker Tarantino. Well, writer at the time, he became a genius filmmaker. He really elevated his craft as he went. He kind of went the opposite path of Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith kind of scaled down, and Tarantino just continued to go up. Unfortunately, Kevin Smith never bought into his own hype. I think Tarantino kind of has, but you can't argue with his filmmaking. His filmmaking is stunning, and I'm so glad we had filmmakers like that, because I think they brought along a lot of indie sensibilities and brought that to popular mainstream movies. You know, we've gotten a lot more of that over the years, even superhero films where they take a few chances here and there. Eternals, I didn't like Eternals, but at least they were trying to inject a little indie vibe into it. You know, and there's still a lot of that undercurrent going on in filmmaking today. Unfortunately, not as much as I'd like, but a little.
Well, they figured out how to bottle it for sure. They figured out how to bottle it and sell it and make it palatable for everyone. But back then it was fresh and it was brand new and it was something that nobody else was doing. And
one thing I will say, I agree with you, John. One thing I will say, because I think Tarantino gets a lot of grief from film cinephiles, that because Tarantino, he just rips off everyone else and steals and da-da-da-da. Okay. I'm not going to debate that. There's many shots that he has replicated from other movies. But I will say he makes them his own. That is a testament to his ability. And my argument is, after a Tarantino movie, whatever is successful, you will see a lot of attempts to replicate that come out. Nobody ever hits it. In my mind, I think that's all you need to know is you can dislike him all you want, but he makes that his art. And nobody writes like him. So you can say he might borrow a shot or he replicates a scene, but he writes his dialogue, and that dialogue is very specific to him, as far as I'm concerned. I don't hear ripped off dialogue. So, I don't know. I feel like that's a very unfair comparison at this stage in his career, but I still hear it a lot. All right, happier notes. Both Friends and ER debuted in 1994. I was not a fan of Friends at all. I've never found that show funny, but everybody else in the world tells me I'm wrong. And that and ER were 2 juggernauts that changed American TV for years to come. They changed how friendships worked on television. They changed how medical dramas worked. They made them very realistic and gritty and grounded, as opposed to just crazy St. Elsewhere dreams. So why do you think those 2 shows are so special to fans? Troy, you're the TV know-it-all.
Well, I think that the number one thing was just looking for something in 94 to like re-energize the television space. And Friends just was like that coming of age 90s feel of what things were looking like. Cause I mean, you're, in the middle of the Clinton era at this point, economy's looking good. Everybody's looking happy. And it's like, yeah, we can make it in New York. We can move to New York. We could be these people. And you kind of live vicariously through these 6 people and their places on the couch and at Central Perk, and brings coffee to the front of the conversation. It just, all of it just seemed like everything that you wanted to be, especially because a lot of people like John and myself going off to college. This is what our college experience is going to be like. We're going to be friends forever. It's going to be amazing. So people really resonated with that show that were probably in that college aged sequence, because you're watching it with your friends in college. Like you had friends watch parties on Thursday nights. And then ER, I think, was just a completely different way to tell drama on television. It was like the first kind of 4-way, post like Hill Street Blues or even NYPD Blue, where you gotten like real gritty on television that you wouldn't see like typically, but unless you went to the movie theater. So to see how a medical drama could actually succeed and then have really great actors in it, with Anthony Edwards, and then of course really good looking actors like George Clooney and a bunch of other people. I think it was a really captivating cast. And then to be able to handle the subject material that it had really just put them on the map. And then ER was the longest running show on television for a long time until that other medical show that I'm still strapped to for another year, even though and Pompeo's not going to be on the season, which is actually going to make the show that much better for Grey's Anatomy going past 400 episodes.
Oh my God. That show's never going to die.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wait, if she's not going to be on the show, how is it still called Grey's Anatomy?
Exactly. She should have just
isn't it her
walked
show?
into the freaking water on that damn beach last season and just ended it last season.
Isn't it her show?
Wasn't it?
Yeah, but like it's the people that have impacted her life and the fact that the building is named after her and their new medical treatments are named after her. So it's her legacy now.
Oh my God.
Oh God. I never really got into the whole Friends, thing. I never really understood it. I never it was never something that really resonated with me. ER, on the other hand, whenever I could catch it, because again, this is the 90s. So you didn't always have control over your television time or anything else like that. And you couldn't just go back and watch something. If you missed it, you still missed it unless you taped it. And even then,
yeah, you had to tape it.
Yeah. Yeah, and even then, if the power went out, because that still happened a lot more back then, or something happened.
Well, these kids today don't know how good they've got it.
No, they really don't.
Yeah.
Like if you missed it, you missed it. There was no catching back up. So anyhow, I say all that to say that like as much as I could sit down and watch ER, I really did. And I just, yeah, you're right. It's the people felt more real. The stories felt more dangerous, and everything was just better about ER when it came out.
One thing I noticed is these 2 shows influenced hairstyles for the 90s more than any other 2 shows, because everybody had that Caesar cut George Clooney had. Nobody wore it like he did. And everybody was trying to get the Rachel, right? So, I mean, those 2 shows really kind of influenced men and women's hairstyles for a great portion of the 90s. I tried that.
Oh, forget just the hairstyles. I mean, the Friends made wearing that Komodo so popular back then.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that show was phenomenally popular, like insanely popular. I could never laugh at it. I tried so hard. I love Chandler. I'd watch a Chandler show, but outside of that.
But did you watch a Chandler show? Did you?
I would have. If it was just Chandler. It was all the 5 other
But he got his own shows, is my point, and they did not do very well.
Yeah, but it wasn't Chandler. It was just Matthew Perry. It was different.
All right.
But
I struggle to tell them apart.
A former host of the Hollywood Outsider, Scott Clark, is such a fan of Friends. This is a true story. Such a fan of Friends. He had 6 cats named after Friends characters. Let's point out 6 cats. What the hell? But also named after Friends characters. So either way you will look at that, it's wacky. He seemed happy, but I'm just saying, it's pretty wacky. But I will say thank you, ER, because for a long time I don't want to say in love, but I was a huge fan of George Clooney, and from that movie that and Tarantino connected with From Dusk Till Dawn and just made my heart melt.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was that made your heart melt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In fact, if you ever want to go, there's I don't recommend too many documentaries on filmmaking because usually they're just kind of like behind the scenes. You've seen it 1,000 times on YouTube. But there's a documentary on From Dusk Till Dawn called Full Tilt Boogie, which is fantastic. If you can ever find it, you should definitely watch it. It's one of the best documentaries on filmmaking I've seen. It's entertaining. It's actually an entertaining documentary on filmmaking, which never happens.
Was that because you were at full tilt when you saw From Dusk Till Dawn?
I can't imagine why.
Psh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. For a while, Troy, in the 90s, I even did that head tick thing, trying to emulate George Clooney. It was really a sad phase in my life. Very sad.
Was it just because of Selma Hayek? I'm just trying to figure out why.
Don't even get me started on Selma Hayek, because I revisited puberty. Selma Hayek came out. This is a whole different topic.
Breaking news! On April 8th, 1994, Kurt Cobain's body was discovered at his Lake Washington Boulevard home after an apparent suicide. Cobain and his band Nirvana shepherded in a completely new brand of music with a grungy style. Even decades later, we still aren't 100% certain what the lyrics to Smells Like Teen Spirit actually are, nor what they mean. He is an enigma, a mystery, and a riddle. And now we return to your regularly scheduled program.
Let's move on to In Memoriam. How about that? How's that transition, huh?
Let's get really happy about it, too.
Okay. Just want to mention some of the great ones we lost in 1994. Cesar Romero. I remember him from Batman. Telly Savalas. Jack Kirby. I bet that probably hit John pretty hard.
Yeah. Back then you didn't hear about the actual death that much. You would have heard about it if it happened today, but not back then.
John Candy, that was a huge one.
This one hit me.
Everybody knew that. George Papard, that's from the A-Team. Richard Nixon, that guy. Henry Mancini, Peter Cushing, a legend, an absolute legend. Jessica Tandy, also a legend. Burt Lancaster, also a legend. Cab Calloway, also a legend. A lot of legends we lost. So John Candy, let's go back to that. Why did that one? I know it hit the world. I mean, I think people still feel that one. Why'd that one hit you so hard?
Because it just was one of those, it was one of those deaths that I would have never seen coming, number one. Number two, it was John Candy. And I can't even count on both my hands all the movies of his that I loved growing up. You know, he was just like, he made it, and he also made it okay to be a big bone fella, you know? It just touched me. It was hard to really quantify it back then. Still hard for me to quantify it now. I just rewatched one of his movies recently, the Summer Rental.
Oh yeah.
He's just fantastic. And the way we talk about how Jim Carrey committed to roles, the way he committed to what he was doing was always fantastic.
John Candy's awesome. I love John Candy and everything he did. Uncle Buck, Home Alone, when he's like playing the what do you call it? The polka music in the back of the car.
Yeah.
The accordion.
Yeah. I mean, he was just such a great guy.
Here's a quarter. Go downtown and find a rat and gnaw that thing off your face.
Yeah. I mean, everything about John Candy is just is gold. I mean, those aren't pillows. So good. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is such a quintessential viewing. You have to watch it every year at Thanksgiving.
I found him to be both hilarious and had a real endearment about him that most actors never come close to, which is, I think Robin Williams had it. I mean, there's obviously several actors that have had it, but John Candy just had this warmth where he just had to show up and you instantly felt better about whatever it was. And you're instantly on his side. I mean, to be perfectly honest, you're mentioning Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Troy. He's annoying as hell in that entire movie. I mean, he really kind of is. He's the guy you don't want to hang out with. Even though Steve Martin's kind of a dick as well, but he's very annoying, even though he means well. So, but you're still on his side because you feel like, you know what? I know he's not a bad guy because John Candy's playing him. You can it comes through that he means well. He's just trying too hard. We've all had friends like that. I remember watching Splash. Remember Splash? And he has a supporting role, but every time he's in that supporting role, I think that movie gets better. Just by him showing up. That's all he had to do is just show up. He just had an energy and a glow about him that so many actors don't have. You know, it's very rare these days, especially because we have so many actors working and so much product and so much of it feels like product. a talent like John Candy really, really shined. And really sad to lose him. The rest of them were just legends. You guys want to hear the top 10 films of 1994?
You know it.
Okay.
Are these by box
Yes.
office or are these by fan ratings?
These are the top 10 movies by box office in 1990, domestically speaking. Number 10 is Pulp Fiction. No big surprise. It was a pretty big hit. Number 9 was The Mask. Number 8 was Speed, Keanu Reeves, and he dodged that bullet by not going to Speed 2. So good call, Keanu. I wish you would have dodged that last Matrix movie. Would have been better for us. Number 7, Clear and Present Danger. That's where Harrison Ford played Jack Ryan. Number 6 is Dumb and Dumber. That movie has the most annoying sound ever, if I recall correctly. Don't do it in the podcast because we'll lose listeners. Number 5 is The Flintstones, which was a hit, surprisingly, at the time. Number 4 was The Santa Claus. Number 3 was True Lies, which is a fantastic movie. I would argue Arnold's best top 3 Arnold movies, I would say. Up there with Predator and Terminator.
Commando.
Which one did you say?
Commando.
Did you really
I
say?
love Commando.
Do you really?
I do. It was like one of my first R-rated movies I ever watched as a kid.
Remember when I said I would kill you last? I lied.
I lied.
Number 2.
It's Milano.
Number 2 is Forrest Gump. And number 1, of course, is The Lion King. Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Disney just filed a lawsuit. Just there, right now. Right then.
Well, now you just had this podcast taken off of
We'll
whatever
miss you
feed
guys.
it's on.
We'll miss you.
Based on fan scores, number 10 was Heavenly Creatures.
Huh.
Number 9 was Legends of the Fall. Number 8 was Speed. 7 was The Mask. 6 was Interview with the Vampire. The Vampire Chronicles. 5 was The Lion King. 4 was Leon, the Professional.
Hey, that's kind of surprising.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
3, Pulp Fiction. 2, Forrest Gump. And number 1, of course, was Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, I see what happened now.
He just wanted to get that Shawshank mention in there. See, the people love this movie so much more than Lion King. Really, you going to put it up against the Lion King and you think it's going to win? Come on now.
9.3 stars to the Lion King's 8.5.
I think in the real world that's not going to hold up. I don't know.
I see what happened now.
He just had to prove he's right, John.
Lion King did have an 88 Metascore, though, compared to the 81 for Shawshank. So on the Metascore scale, Lion King wins.
So in your mind, there's 19% of the people are wrong.
Well, no, because 94% of the people said that Pulp Fiction was the best on the Metascore.
Well, those
so
people
they
are
got it
correct.
right.
What about TV shows?
Yeah, let's do TV. Here we go. Top 10 TV. Number 10 was Roseanne. That's back when they allowed her to be part of her own show.
This is based on ratings.
Yes, this is based on ratings. There's a tie for 9th, so it's 9th and 8th. So 9th is Friends. 8th, Murder, She Wrote. Oh, God, I remember that. That lady had murder everywhere she looked. She was the prompt. She was killing people. That's what I think.
It was her fault. 100% her fault.
Then you got NYPD Blue. It was a good show at the time. 60 Minutes. Monday Night Football. I don't know if that really counts, but it did. Grace Under Fire. That was a hit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And she smoked all that money away.
Yep, I heard about that. It's too bad. Home Improvement was number 3. Number 2 was ER. And number 1 was Seinfeld. So this is before Friends just blew up, but Seinfeld was number 1 in 94.
So the top 10 new shows that released in 1994.
Troy's like, I got more. Is this going to be Shawshank somehow?
These are the ones that actually had the pilot aired in 1994. Number 10 was Touched by an Angel.
It's a weird title.
Number 9 was My So-Called Life. Number 8 was The Vicar of Dibley.
Don't even know what the hell that is.
7 was All That. 6, New York Undercover.
Oh, I like that show.
5 was Heartbreak High. Number 4 was Spider-Man, the animated series.
Classic.
3 was Party of 5. And number 2 was ER, with number 1 being Friends.
There you go.
You know, it's sad that My So-Called Life was mentioned on that list, yet it only got 1 season, I believe.
Correct.
It's wild, isn't it? Well, a lot of those shows on that list only didn't come back because that was back in the day. I mean, Troy, you know this. You're the TV junkie. You know this. I mean, if you didn't have 10 million, 15 million viewers, you weren't coming back for another season.
Right.
Where now, I mean, most shows on network TV are like 3 or 4 million. That's doing well. If you got 6 or 7, like Walking Dead still has 6 or 7 million viewers on cable, and that's still doing great. It's nuts.
6 or 7 million on cable is like 10 million on network.
Yeah. It's crazy how the ratings have changed because there's so much content. Back then, there was only like 100 shows total.
Because it seems like in order to keep good TV on the air now, you have to have a partnership with a streaming service, and you pay that good streaming money to help a TV show actually exist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Such good TV catalogs over there at Warner Brothers. I wonder what they're going to do.
They're making a lot of reality movies. It's going to be another like Jackass, versions of Jackass. That's what it's going to be. Bunch of reality movies. Yay.
Because this is the hard part, because when you talk about television, you have like Universal is NBC, and you have Fox, and then you have Disney, on ABC. So people are buying TV shows in-house because it's cheaper than saying going to Sony or to Warner Brothers. So now if Warner Brothers doesn't get any of their TV content purchased by anybody because they're buying in-house, then the logical place to put your Warner Brothers content is on HBO Max. Just saying.
Wake up, John. We're moving on, right?
Oh,
It's okay.
huh?
What?
All right. Sorry.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right. So let's go from the outside in topic. That was so mean. All right. So our topic based on 1994, we're just going to talk, elaborate on some of the other stuff from 1984. So many people have called this like one of the greatest years in movies of all time. Do you agree? That's my question, because I think this is, I would say probably top 5 years of all time in movies. I think there's so many great films in this year.
I would say this follows 1985 very close. It happens to be my senior year of high school when this year's happening. This is also when I graduate high school. I am just getting into my own as far as going out and seeing movies on my own. And then if you look at what we got going on here, a lot of people didn't like Natural Born Killers. I actually enjoyed that movie for some strange reason. I think there was something wrong with me. You have The River Wild, which was a fantastic movie to take a girl to. I keep scrolling through and looking at different movies. Major League 2, which is a case of a sequel being just as good as the first one. Blown Away. I actually just sat down and rewatched Blown Away because for whatever reason it was in my head and I had to go ahead and watch it. Like, I think that this year closely follows 1985.
1985 isn't even like one of the best years. Like when you think about like best years of movies, you think 82, 99, 94. Like those are like the top 3, 76. I think those are the big years that you think about. You don't think of 85 as being a big year for movies.
Shut up, Troy.
My opinion.
Wow. Okay. Here, let me go through. All right. So we talked about Forrest Gump. You had movies like True Lies. We talked about that. Disclosure, The Masked Speed, The Client. There's just a ton of movies that I loved in 1984. Stargate, Grumpy Old Men. All that stuff, like all this stuff really just, I love it. The Crow, you've The River Wild, Time Cop, frickin' Jean-Claude Van Damme. There's just so many movies that I loved in this particular era. I just frickin' love it.
Airheads.
It's not one of them.
It's a great movie though. It's so funny.
Is it though?
It is.
It is a great movie. What are you talking about?
Blown Away. That's great. I don't think Airheads is a great movie. That's fine. A Low Down Dirty Shame. I really like that one.
Yeah, that was a really great one.
I like that one.
Don't forget about the stellar Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Oh God, one of the worst sequels of all time.
Yeah.
Just
I honestly loved Wolf, the one with Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer, where he's a werewolf.
Did you really love that one, huh?
Yeah, I really did. It's a great change as far as the werewolf story goes, and then you got your buddy Red Reddington's in it as the villain. Come on now.
There you go. Yeah.
In 94, 95 is like when the internet's first coming online in people's homes. So Disclosure was actually a really great film as well.
Mm-hmm.
What could happen with like internet and computers and things of that nature.
Sexual harassment. Oh.
And don't forget, first time the TNG crew went boldly into the movies with Star Trek Generations that year.
Was it really? Was it that year?
Yeah.
Oh. So for you, was that pretty exciting?
Yeah. I thought it was pretty great to see Captain Kirk and Captain Picard on the screen at the same time.
Hudsucker Proxy.
Was Kirk in Generations?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That's when they went to the Nexus.
I don't remember. Like, I'm not a big Star Trek guy. Sorry, guys. I'm just not.
It's okay.
You should do your research before.
I'm not either.
And Four Weddings and a Funeral was a wonderful movie. I just don't think it should have been Best Picture. The Ref, one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time.
It really is a good one. Addams Family Values.
One of the first
which is
attempts at the
another great-
Fantastic Four.
Okay, that's not the That's not the good one.
Stop it.
Or just watchable one.
Now you're just being mean.
Just don't do that.
Now you're just being mean. Maverick.
Don't forget Little Giants. Little Giants was great.
All good stuff. In the Army now. Pauly Shore. What's up, buddy?
Good one too.
Was it?
It's funny.
Reality Bites. Great movie. That's a great movie.
Did you say Maverick?
I did say Maverick. That was a good movie.
Yeah, Maverick is such a great movie.
It really is a great movie. It's one of those fantastic times where you get to see like the DNA in which Mel Gibson comes from, because you put him right next to James Garner and you're like, wow, there's actually a through line there.
Booyah.
Breaking news! The White House launched its first website on July 29th, 1994. Also this year, e-commerce sites and mass marketing campaigns are launched via email, which introduced the word spamming to our vocabularies. And the full version of Netscape Navigator was released in December of 1994, becoming the first commercially successful web browser. In other words, the machines have begun their uprising. The end is nigh, my friends. Run for your lives, grab your friends, your family, your loved ones. It won't last much longer. And now we return to your regularly scheduled program.
Well, what else can you think of in 1994? How about TV shows? Anything in TV that really struck your fancy?
I mean, I was a big Party of Five person, so we actually had a watch party for Party of Five. We had all the ladies gathered in our dorm room, and then we went dorm room to dorm room every week, and then have different hosting things. So it was the first time doing like a group watch thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty fun because not everybody was into Friends. Some people were into it, some people weren't, but everybody was into Party of Five. I don't know why it was like so captivating for people, because I think it was like the whole crux with 90210 coming right off of
sure.
that heels.
Yeah.
So we're looking for the next 90210 thing. But Party 5 was a big one. We already talked about Friends and ER and a bunch of the other ones that were out there. But I mean, it's just a lot of interesting things that like attempts. I remember watching Earth 2 and thinking like, this is like the first like really interesting sci-fi concept of like landing on an alien planet, but missing the target and then having to try to figure out how to get to where you're supposed to be. And, you know, are you going to get eaten by the planet? Or you're not going to get eaten by the planet? Are you going to make friends with people? It was really interesting to see a different take on sci-fi at that time. And don't forget The Tick.
Oh, God.
Tick was also in
Tick was fun. Tick was fun. You know what I miss most? Looking back at TV in the 90s, 94, 95, all the 90s. I miss the Sunday night movie, Monday night movie, all that stuff. You know, when they used to have TV movies, because this is before we had so
like
much.
The Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday nights? Or are you talking like...
Just all that stuff. I mean, I found...
The miniseries that went on for like Andromeda for like 3 days over 2 hours a night for 3 nights?
Yeah, stuff like that. There was a lot of random TV movies and stuff, and there would be little murder mysteries and just stuff where you could check your brain at the door and just enjoy it. And you don't have to pay too much attention to it. You can get other things done while it's on. It didn't feel like a time suck. It just felt more like background noise. I mean, it's just like we do with TV now. But, you know, then, you know, you would have, you know, nowadays you're streaming, you're spending all your day searching. The 2 hours you could watch a movie, you're searching for what to watch. By the time you find something, it's time to go to bed. So this is when back in the days, you could just put the TV on, turn it to a channel, and then go do what you're doing. I miss those. Every once in a while, you get a really good one. Not very often. Every once in a while.
George Carlin had his one season of his comedy show in 94.
Yeah, you know, I looked through a lot of what's going on television in 94, and it's a weird time for me because I am not connecting with a lot of this stuff. And
The Nanny?
And
how about The Nanny? Did you connect with The Nanny?
No, don't do that.
That's what
don't
she sounded like.
I know. And there's a reason why I never watched it. You know, but there are a lot of great things that I mean, I did enjoy to some degree. Like we talked about ER. There's also Viper. I watched Viper for a little bit. It's also the year The Critic came out on television, and I adored that cartoon for some ridiculous reason. You know, there's just but at the same time, like, this goes back to me saying this wasn't the time and age to really like get into being into television, because if you missed something, it was gone, and it was, you know, it was hard for you to stick with it or to keep up with something. And like in my house growing up, like there was a window of time in which nobody had control over the television but Dad, and that was it.
Don't forget that 1994 was also when the Chicago shows actually started for the very first time. Because Chicago Hope debuted in 1994 and went till 2000.
No, it didn't. Did
Sure
it?
did.
Was it that long ago? Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's why we don't have a medical show today, because Chicago Hope already existed. I mean, maybe Dick Wolf could bring Chicago Hope back. I don't know.
And thanks for bringing up Dad controlled the remote, John, because mine wasn't around. So thanks.
You're
thanks
welcome.
for bringing those memories up. I had to get up, find the remote myself.
Oh, John, how do we forget about gargoyles?
Oh yeah, I mean there is stuff like that. I mean, Gargoyle is an absolutely amazing cartoon, but I try not to mention cartoons too much because eventually Aaron's gonna have to say those famous 3 lines of his.
I don't watch cartoons.
I don't watch cartoons.
I watch Spider-Man. Does that count?
No, it doesn't count.
Whatever. Well, anything really disappointing looking back, or maybe even you changed your opinion on it for the better since you first saw him? Nothing. I don't think there's anything where I changed my mind on anything that I can think of. Yeah, I think 4 Weddings and a Funeral. It didn't speak to me at the time, but I've come to appreciate it years later. So maybe that.
Yeah, it's really tough to look at anything and say that I really changed my mind on it. I think the closest I get is the Crow, because to me, whenever I watch the Crow, the absence of Brandon Lee is obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And, to me at least now, and the fact that they're working around the fact that that somebody, of somebody who's died during filming is obvious. And the repetition of using, like cutting out his body in one scene to watch him walk through a scene, I can see the work they put into making that happen. And it takes me out of the movie every single time.
I'm still disappointed that Shawshank didn't win the Oscar. And now I have to relive that trauma because of this episode. Thank you so much.
Shut up.
Appreciate all of you.
There was a movie called Color of Night. I don't know if you remember this. Bruce Willis was in it.
I love that movie.
I did too. And looking back on it, I'm a little ashamed that I did, because I really don't think it's a very good movie. So there you go.
No, it's not a very good movie,
No.
but you get a decent shot at Bruce Willis's hammer in that movie.
You do. He might die hard. I don't know.
Perpetually hard.
Rigor mortis is set in.
I think so. Yeah. I remember really liking that movie. And you know what? There was, oh God, what was the name of the movie? It was a Charlie Sheen movie. It was a skydiver, because they had 2 skydiver ones that year. It was like Drop Zone, Terminal Velocity.
Yep.
The movie, I don't think is a great movie, but it had one of my favorite lines of all time. I've used it a million times in my life, where pack your bags, we're going on a guilt trip. And I just thought that was magic. And it's not, but I've used it 1,000 times since. But that movie's really not good.
Are you sure that wasn't from The Ref?
No, it's 100% from Terminal Velocity. Pack your bags, we're going on a guilt trip. Yep. The Ref holds up. That movie's still great. I love that movie.
That movie is still amazing.
Absolutely love it. If you've never seen it, my God, do yourself a favor. You know what people don't realize about Shawshank, Troy?
What's that?
It was actually a flop.
It was.
It did not make any money. It was not a hit movie. People think it was this massive hit. It was successful where?
On TNT.
And home video. No, those are true. I mean, TNT.
It's on
and home
TNT
video.
every weekend, but not for much longer.
It's pretty insane. Pretty insane. Okay. Well, I wish I could say that there's a lot that I love that fell apart, but I don't think there was. I do think if you ever watch the movie Nell, which I believe Nell came out that year, if you rewatch it, it just feels super offensive. I don't know why. It just does.
Just last week, I sat down and rewatched No Escape, the Ray Liotta movie.
Oh yeah. Does it hold up?
That one actually still holds up.
I remember that being a pretty solid flick.
Yeah, it's still pretty solid.
I have to check that out. Okay, so now we're going to move on to who would you have pegged as your entertainer of the year?
That's a really tough call, because I mean the easy call would be Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey would be the one that I would say would be the easy one. But at the same time, like I believe this year ended with Brendan Fraser on top with Airheads, and
wow, okay.
ever since like we started getting a bunch of Brendan Fraser through the early and middle 90s, and in 94 he did Airheads, and his career was gone after that. It just kept going up, and I really loved, I always loved Brendan Fraser. He was always my hair idol, and yeah, so I'm gonna go with Brendan Fraser.
All really on board with Jim Carrey. 3 movies in 1 year that all were successful. Definitely have to go that route.
I get the argument. I don't disagree with the argument, but I'm going to go with Tom Hanks. Now, the reason being is that while Philadelphia came out at the end of the prior year, but he won the Oscar in 94, and then he won again in 95. And it was such a tour de force in terms of the performance that he gave from Forrest Gump and Philadelphia, which he won the Oscar for in 94. Those, to me, it just showcased a different kind of actor than he was previously. He completely changed how people saw him, how he was perceived artistically. It opened up completely different doors. His career and path completely changed, like just went in a whole other direction because of, and it was this time frame that really, really, cemented that this is an actor that's not just making feel good comedies and romantic comedies and romantic dramas and stuff like this guy can do anything, literally anything. And that's how he started to become the Tom Hanks we know.
Yeah, this was a pretty strong year for him for sure because of those reasons. I think after this, it was Apollo 13, wasn't it?
I think that came after that, yeah.
Because the following year, 95.
Yep.
That's what I just said.
That's what he said. It's literally what he said. God damn it, Troy.
You said right? Like you asked a question.
Oh, I don't know. Are we supposed to attack him now? I can't remember. Are we supposed to attack him? What are we doing here? Do we attack him?
He's attacking you. Might as well.
I've kind of been attacking both of you, but that's okay.
Yeah. And Apollo 13 and Toy Story, and then Saving Private Ryan was a couple years later, and then so on and so forth. I mean, The Green Mile several years later. I mean, this was really like where his career completely changed. And it was bold. That was a bold step. Philadelphia was a bold step. Forrest Gump was a huge swing because that character should not work in any way, shape, or form the way that he played it.
It was because he didn't go 100% retard. If we've learned anything in the last few years, you never go full retard.
I can't even decide if I can let that stay in the podcast. I mean, it's a movie quote. It's a movie quote. Son of a bitch. I'm going to let it play. You're going to own it. That's us.
I'll know.
All right.
I'll introduce people to the movie I got it from.
They should. Everybody should watch Tropic Thunder. Really. That should be required.
It's a classic.
It is a classic. All right. So you want to hear what listener top 10 is?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Listener top 10. Interview with the Vampires, number 10. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. Stargate, number 9. That's a great movie because Kurt Russell's in it and he makes the world better, and also Jane Spader. So there's that. Clerks, then True Lies, Ace Ventura, The Crow, Speed, Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction. Any bets on what number 1 is? Ed Wood. You're right. It's crazy. I don't know where that came from, but it's swept. No, it's Shawshank Redemption. So congratulations, Troy. You got it right. That's the best movie. Should have won the Oscar. Should have done everything, right? Should have done it all.
How is that even possible?
Andy Dufresne did. I don't understand why anybody else couldn't rise to the occasion.
How is it possible? What, that won?
Yeah,
dude, it's a pretty beloved movie. I mean, people love that movie. Even if
I guess it's one. I guess all right, fine.
It's crazy because of the twist. Yay, guy climbed through shit.
The twist.
Aha. Pulp Fiction had a gimp. I didn't see a gimp in frickin' Shawshank.
Andy Dufresne was kind of the gimp in Shawshank.
Oh, God. That happened. All right.
Breaking news! On May 10th, 1994, after spending years in prison, Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa. He's the first democratically elected president of color, beating America by a whopping 15 years. Are we first for anything anymore? It's certainly not education. And now we return to your regularly scheduled program.
Well, now we got one more thing and then we're out of here. We're going to play a game called Nailed It. This is our whole game where we're going to each of us pick a popular movie quote from 1994. It has to be from a popular movie. John, this is in caps for you. Popular movie,
Okay.
not obscure. The first person to guess it wins. If we can't guess it, the person who quoted it wins, and that's who gets the point. So there's a 1 point per each of us. You guys ready?
Ready, Freddie?
Ready?
Okay. So I am first, and here we go. Here's my quote. You know what? I'm sick of being in the van. You guys are going to be in the van next time. I've been in the van for 15 years, Harry.
True Lies.
True Lies.
Troy got it. Troy's got a point.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. All right, John, your turn.
I don't want to die, and your men don't want to die, and these people certainly don't want to die. It's a shame you're in such a hurry to die, too.
Oh, son of a bitch. I don't know. The Santa Claus.
No. Troy is Googling it right
You
now.
can't Google.
So I can't even Google it.
No, don't Google.
I give up.
You guys both give up?
Is he Googling? Because I swear to God, if he's Googling. Oh, man.
You know when he's
The
looking that
Stardate. I think
direction,
that's
he's
Stardate.
Googling. Holy shit, you're right.
Sweet. I did not Google it. I didn't touch my keyboard, bitch. Troy was trying, though. All right.
I was trying.
So now John, or I'm sorry, Troy has a point. I have a point. John, pointless.
Usually.
It's typical.
All right, Troy, you're up. Last one. Ooh, got to clear his throat for this.
Faster than you could say spread 'em, I was inside the cold gray walls of Statesville Prison. I was surrounded by pimps, rapists, and murderers. It was like being in the stands of a Los Angeles Raiders game.
Naked Gun 33?
You got it.
Sweet!
Yeah. All right.
That's funny. OJ. Well, there we go. Hey, I won. Sweet. Yay, me.
Yeah, you did win. I gave you a full half hour to figure out the line, but still.
Well, I mean, whatever it takes, right? Whatever it takes.
Right.
But see, when I edit it, I'll condense it so it looks like I just, bam, pulled it out of my ass.
You'll cut out all the, wait, what is this?
Yeah,
What?
Exactly.
Huh?
It'll just be me answering immediately.
Right.
Aaron is so quick with the quote. Oh,
There's
my
no
God.
keyboard clicks in that Google search that he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did he get it so quickly? That's why he has a kid when he was in 1994.
Wow. Some people like to stay inside. They don't like to go out. That's going to do it for this episode. Anything else in 1994 you guys want to talk about? Anything?
The fact that you got lied to about being, someone being on the pill.
That happened, actually. So let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it. That is a sore subject, my friend. Well, that's going to do it. Remember, if you want to spread the word, tell the kids at school or the actual water cooler, make a mixtape, play us in your boombox of choice, jam with WTHO coming at you now in stereo. All right, this is it for this episode of the Hollywood Outsider Podcast. If you want any more, you can talk to the hand, though we sure hope it was hella fly, home skillet. But for now, we got to be bugging out. Booyah! Tell me whenever you do get ready. You're done yelling at everybody.
I'm ready.
This is John, and I am recording. You dick.
This is Troy. And I backed up.
Jesus. Ow.
I'm
God.
not sure what just happened, but I don't like it.
They heard it in 1994. Fuck. I went back in time.
back in time.
That yodel was over 88 miles an hour. Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Elton John sang all the songs. Why? It's a question.
Why are you still
I
going?
don't know. I don't know why. Why am I still talking?